The space transport ship shook as it entered the atmosphere of planet Kepler 442b. Young Dae Kim pressed his nose against the cold window and watched the strange red world below. He was only 12 years old, but already felt tired from the long journey from Earth. His parents sat beside him, looking worried about their new home. The planet looked nothing like Earth. Red dust covered everything as far as he could see. Strange rock formations stuck out of the ground like broken teeth. Dark holes in the mountains showed where the mining crews had been digging for precious metals. Dae wondered if they had made a mistake coming here. "Look, son," his father June said softly. "That will be our new home down there." Dae nodded but did not feel excited. The planet looked dead and empty. No trees or grass grew anywhere. No blue ocean sparkled in the sunlight. Just endless red dirt and rocks under a pale orange sky. The ship landed with a loud thud at the main colony base. Director Park met them at the landing platform. She was a tough-looking woman with gray hair and worried eyes. Behind her stood several security guards carrying large weapons. "Welcome to Mining Colony 7, Director Park said to the new families. "I need to tell you about some important safety rules before you settle in." The adults gathered around her while children like Dae stayed close to their parents. Director Park spoke in a serious voice that made everyone listen carefully. "We have been having some problems lately," she explained. "Something has been attacking our mining teams in the deep tunnels. We call it the shadow because no one has seen it clearly. 3 teams have gone missing in the past month." Dae felt his mother's hand tighten on his shoulder. His father stepped closer to them both. "Whatever this creature is, it seems very intelligent," Director Park continued. "It tears apart our equipment but leaves it arranged in strange patterns. It knows how to avoid our sensors and security cameras. Most importantly, no one is allowed in the mining tunnels without armed guards." The families were taken to their new homes in the main habitat building. The rooms were small and cramped with metal walls and artificial lights. Everything smelled like recycled air and cleaning chemicals. Dae missed the smell of real grass and flowers from Earth. That night at dinner, the adults talked in quiet voices about the creature attacks. Dae listened carefully while pretending to eat his processed food rations. "The mining equipment was found shredded like paper," one man whispered, "but the pieces were arranged in perfect circles around the tunnel entrance. My friend in security says the creature left claw marks 15 feet up the tunnel walls," another woman added. "What kind of animal can reach that high?" Dae's father looked troubled. "Maybe we should request transfer back to Earth while we still can." "No," his mother replied firmly. "We came here to build a better life. We cannot run away at the first sign of trouble." After dinner, Dae lay in his narrow bed listening to the strange sounds of the colony at night. Machines hummed constantly to keep the air clean and the temperature steady. Sometimes he heard security guards walking past his window talking in low voices about patrol schedules and weapon checks. The next morning brought terrible news. Another mining team had vanished during the night shift. Team 7 had been working in the deepest tunnels when they stopped responding to radio calls. When the morning crew went to check on them, they found empty tunnels and abandoned equipment, but this time something was different. The missing miners had left behind more than just torn metal and strange arrangements. Deep scratches in the tunnel walls formed symbols that looked almost like writing. Dr. Kim, the colony scientist, studied photographs of the marks with growing amazement. "These are not random scratches," Dr. Kim announced to the worried colonists. "They show mathematical patterns and astronomical references. Whatever made these marks understands complex science." The news spread quickly through the small colony. If the creature was intelligent enough to understand mathematics and astronomy, then it was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Some families demanded immediate evacuation while others wanted to fight back with bigger weapons. Dae watched his parents argue quietly in their quarters about what to do. His mother wanted to stay and help build the colony. His father worried about their safety if the attacks continued. Neither of them asked what Dae wanted, but he found himself thinking about the missing miners and wondering if they were still alive somewhere in the dark tunnels. The colony's security chief, Commander Yoon, called an emergency meeting that evening. He stood before the frightened colonists with maps of the tunnel system spread on tables around him. "We are organizing the largest search and rescue operation in colony history," Commander Yoon announced. "Every available person will help find our missing people and deal with this creature once and for all." Volunteers stepped forward to join the search teams. Dae's father raised his hand despite his mother's worried protests. Many other colonists volunteered too, driven by duty to their fellow humans and fear for their own safety. The search will begin at dawn, Commander Yoon continued. We will use every piece of equipment we have. Motion scanners, thermal imaging, seismic detectors, and armed drones will map every tunnel and cave in the system. That night, Day could not sleep. He stood at his small window watching the strange alien stars wheel overhead. Somewhere in the darkness below, his father and the other volunteers were preparing for a dangerous mission. The boy pressed his hand against the cold glass and made a silent promise that he would be brave no matter what happened. The colony felt different now that everyone knew they shared the planet with something intelligent and possibly hostile. The creature called the Shadow had become more than just a dangerous animal. It was a mystery that challenged everything the humans thought they knew about their new world. As artificial dawn broke over the red landscape, Day watched the search teams drive away toward the mining complex. Dust clouds followed their vehicles until they disappeared beyond the horizon. The boy did not know that this day would change everything for the colony, and that he would soon play a part in the most important discovery in human history. The empty colony felt like a place holding its breath, waiting for news that might bring either relief or disaster. Day spent the day helping his mother and trying not to think about all the things that could go wrong in the deep, dark tunnels where his father was searching for answers. The search and rescue operation began before sunrise. Day watched from the observation deck as dozens of vehicles rolled out toward the mining sector. His father rode in the third transport truck, wearing borrowed safety gear that looked too big for him. The boy waved but knew his father could not see him through the dusty air. Commander Yoon led the largest team the colony had ever assembled. 40 volunteers, 20 security guards, and every piece of scanning equipment they owned moved toward the tunnel complex. Their mission was simple but dangerous: find the missing miners and discover what kind of creature had taken them. Hours passed with no word from the search teams. Day helped his mother in the colony kitchen, preparing meals for when the teams returned. But as the day wore on, both of them grew more worried. The radio chatter from the tunnels became confused and frightened. "Base camp, this is Team Alpha," came a crackling voice over the speakers. "We found something strange in Tunnel 7. The walls here show more of those symbols. They cover everything from floor to ceiling," Director Park answered from the command center. "What do the symbols look like? Can you take pictures?" "Negative. Our cameras are malfunctioning down here. Some kind of interference is blocking all our electronics. Even our flashlights are dimming." More reports came in from other teams. Equipment failures were happening throughout the tunnel system. Radios went silent. Motion detectors gave false readings. Even simple tools like compasses spun wildly and pointed in random directions. Dr. Kim studied the few clear transmissions they received. "The interference seems to be getting stronger the deeper they go," she told Director Park. "Whatever is down there affects our technology in ways we do not understand." By noon, half the search teams had lost contact with base camp. Their emergency beacons showed they were still moving through the tunnels, but no voices came through the static. The rescue operation was becoming a disaster. Day found himself in the communications center, listening to the broken transmissions with growing fear. Technician Lee tried desperately to boost the signal strength, but every attempt seemed to make things worse. "Base camp, this is Team Charlie." A panicked voice suddenly broke through the noise. "Something is following us. We can hear it moving in the tunnels behind us. It sounds huge." "Team Charlie, return to base immediately," Commander Yoon ordered. "All teams fall back to the surface." But Team Charlie did not respond. Their beacon signal wavered and then disappeared completely. One by one, the other team signals went dark as well. Within an hour, the entire search operation had vanished into the underground maze. Director Park declared a colony emergency. All remaining security personnel took defensive positions around the habitat complex. The automated defense systems came online, scanning the perimeter for any sign of the creature. But the technology that had protected them before now seemed fragile and inadequate. Day sat with his mother in their quarters, both of them staring at the radio and hoping for news about his father. The silence from the tunnels was worse than any bad news could have been. At least bad news would tell them something definite. "The teams might be safe," his mother said quietly. "Maybe they found shelter somewhere and are waiting for the interference to clear up." Day nodded but did not believe it. Something terrible was happening in those tunnels, something that their technology could not understand or fight against. The creature called the Shadow was proving to be far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. As evening approached, strange sounds began echoing through the colony structure. Low rumbles seemed to come from deep underground, rising through the metal floors and walls. The sounds were not random. They followed patterns that almost seemed like communication. "Listen to that," Dr. Kim said as she studied audio recordings of the rumbles. "There are mathematical relationships in the sound patterns, prime numbers, geometric sequences, even what might be stellar coordinates." The realization hit everyone at the same time. The creature was not just intelligent. It was trying to communicate with them. The sounds were messages, attempts to establish contact with the human colonists. But the meaning of those messages remained completely mysterious. Night fell over the colony like a dark blanket. Emergency lighting cast red shadows in the corridors as families huddled together in the central areas. Guards patrolled with weapons ready, but everyone knew their guns would be useless against something that could disable their technology from a distance. The first physical sign of the creature appeared near midnight. Maintenance worker. Cho was checking the external sensors when he found something that made him call for backup immediately. Carved into the metal plating of the communications array were fresh symbols, identical to those found in the tunnels. "These were not here yesterday," Cho reported to the emergency command team. "Whatever made them did it during the night while we were all inside." The symbols were carved deep into solid metal with surgical precision. No human tool could have made such clean cuts. But more disturbing than their presence was their obvious intelligence. The marks showed complex mathematical formulas and star charts that matched the colony's own navigation data. Dr. Kim worked through the night trying to decode the symbols. "This creature knows our technology better than we do," she told Director Park. "It understands our computer systems, our navigation equipment, even our communication protocols." As dawn broke over the red landscape, the colonists faced a terrible truth. They were not dealing with a simple predator or even an intelligent animal. The creature in the tunnels possessed knowledge and abilities that far exceeded human understanding. It had been watching them, learning from them, and now it was trying to tell them something important. Day stood at his window watching the sunrise paint the alien sky in shades of orange and gold. Somewhere down in the darkness, his father and 40 other people were either prisoners or worse. The boy made a decision that would have terrified his mother if she had known about it. He would not wait for the adults to figure out what the creature wanted. He would go into the tunnels himself and try to find his father. It was a foolish plan made by a frightened child. But sometimes foolish plans succeeded where careful ones failed. The colony prepared for another day of fear and uncertainty, while Day quietly gathered supplies for his secret mission. Day waited until the afternoon shift change when the guards were busy switching positions. His mother was helping in the medical bay, treating colonists who had panic attacks during the night. Everyone was too worried about the missing search teams to notice one boy slipping away from the habitat complex. He carried a small backpack with emergency food bars, a water bottle, and a portable light. The boy also took his personal communicator, hoping it might work better than the larger equipment that had failed the search teams. His plan was simple but dangerous. Follow the tunnel maps to where his father's team had last been seen. The mining sector looked abandoned and scary in the afternoon light. Heavy machinery sat silent and covered with red dust. Tool sheds stood open with their contents scattered by the wind. Warning signs in multiple languages told everyone to stay away from the tunnel entrances. Day found the main access tunnel that led to the deep mining areas. The entrance was larger than he had expected, big enough for trucks to drive through. Metal tracks for ore carts disappeared into the darkness beyond his small light beam. The air smelled strange, like metal and something else he could not identify. The boy checked his communicator one last time before entering the tunnels. The signal to the colony was strong, but getting weaker as he walked deeper underground. He tried not to think about what would happen if he got lost in the maze of passages below. The main tunnel stretched for hundreds of meters before branching into smaller passages. Signs on the walls marked different mining sectors and warning levels. Dave followed the path toward Sector 7 where his father's team had been working. His footsteps echoed strangely in the empty space. Strange symbols appeared on the tunnel walls as he went deeper. They looked like the ones Dr. Kim had been studying, but these were much larger and more complex. Some symbols covered entire wall sections with patterns that seemed to move and shift in his flashlight beam. The boy felt like he was walking through an alien art gallery. After an hour of walking, Day reached the area where the search teams had lost contact. The tunnel opened into a natural cave system that the miners had discovered while digging. Unlike the smooth artificial passages, these caves had rough walls and strange rock formations that glowed faintly in the darkness. The boy's communicator started making odd beeping sounds as he entered the cave system. The screen showed readings that made no sense. Temperature, radiation, and electromagnetic levels all jumped up and down randomly. Whatever was affecting the search team's equipment was affecting his device too. Dave followed a trail of broken equipment deeper into the caves. Scattered tools and emergency supplies marked the path the search teams had taken, but strangely nothing looked damaged by violence. The equipment seemed to have been carefully moved and arranged rather than destroyed in an attack. The caves branched in many directions like an underground tree. Some passages were too small for humans, while others opened into vast chambers that his light could not fully illuminate. The boy chose paths that looked most traveled, hoping to find signs of the missing people. In one large chamber, Day discovered something that made him stop and stare in amazement. The walls were covered with symbols that seemed to tell a story. Pictures showed star systems, planets, and creatures that looked almost like dragons. Mathematical formulas connected the images in ways that suggested advanced scientific knowledge. The boy realized he was looking at a historical record created by an intelligent being. The symbols showed the rise and fall of civilizations, the movement of stars across millions of years, and technologies that humans had never imagined. Whatever had created this gallery possessed knowledge far beyond human science. As Day studied the wall paintings, he began to understand that the creature the colonists feared was not a monster at all. It was an ancient being, possibly the last of its kind, trying to preserve the history of its world. The mining operations had disturbed something sacred and important. A sound echoed through the chamber that made the boy freeze with fear. It started as a low rumble but grew into something that sounded almost like singing. The voice was deeper than any human could make, but it carried emotions that Day could somehow understand. Loneliness, sadness, and desperate hope filled the alien music. The boy followed the sound deeper into the cave system. His fear was being replaced by curiosity and something that might have been sympathy. The creature was not hiding to hunt humans. It was calling out, trying to communicate with visitors who might understand its message. The passage led to the largest chamber Dai had ever seen. Crystal formations covered the walls and ceiling, glowing with their own inner light. The space was beautiful and alien, like something from a dream about distant worlds, and in the center of the chamber lay the creature the colonists called the Shadow. It was enormous, easily 3 times the size of the transport ships that had brought the colonists from Earth. Its body was covered in scales that reflected the crystal light in rainbow patterns. Large wings were folded against its sides, and its long neck supported a head that looked both reptilian and somehow noble. But what struck Day most was how weak and tired the creature looked. Its scales were dull with malnutrition. Its great eyes seemed clouded with exhaustion. This was not a fearsome predator, but a dying being that had been trying desperately to communicate with the humans who had invaded its world. The dragon, for that was clearly what it was, turned its massive head toward the small human boy who had found its secret chamber. For a moment, neither moved. Then the creature spoke. Not with words, but with thoughts that formed directly in Day's mind. The voice was ancient and sad, filled with knowledge of things that had been lost long before humans learned to make fire. It spoke of watching civilizations rise and fall, of guarding secrets that could transform the universe, and of the terrible loneliness of being the last of its kind. But most importantly, it spoke of hunger. Not the simple hunger for food, but the deeper hunger for understanding, for communication, for the chance to pass on its knowledge before death claimed the final guardian of an ancient world. Day reached into his backpack and pulled out one of his emergency food bars. It was a simple gesture, meaningless to a creature that probably did not eat human food, but the boy offered it anyway. A symbol of friendship between species separated by millions of years of evolution. The dragon looked at the small food bar in Day's outstretched hand with eyes that seemed older than mountains. Slowly, carefully, it lowered its massive head until it was only a few feet from the boy. The creature's breath was warm and smelled like heated metal and starlight. When the dragon spoke again, its thoughts came more clearly into Day's mind. It told him its name was Beck, which meant white in the ancient language of its people. The dragon had been white once, gleaming like fresh snow under alien suns. Now its scales were gray with age and sorrow. Beck explained that it could not eat human food, but the gesture meant more than nourishment. For countless years, every contact with other beings had ended in fear and violence. The boy's simple offer of food was the first act of kindness the dragon had received in longer than human civilization had existed. The dragon showed Day images through their mental connection. Visions of a world that had once been green and blue, covered with cities that floated in the air and seas that sang with artificial music. Beck's people had built wonders that made human technology look like stone tools, but they had also made a terrible mistake. They had grown too proud of their knowledge and tried to control forces beyond their understanding. The experiment that destroyed them had torn apart the very fabric of space around their world. Most of the planet died in moments. The survivors slowly faded away as their technology failed and their food sources disappeared. Beck had been chosen as the keeper of knowledge, the one who would preserve the wisdom of its people until other intelligent beings came to learn from their mistakes. The dragon had waited alone for millions of years, watching star systems form and die while guarding secrets that could save or destroy entire galaxies. The mining operations had awakened Beck from a deep hibernation that had lasted for thousands of human generations. The dragon had tried to communicate with the colonists, but every attempt had been misunderstood as an attack. The missing miners were safe, kept in a protected chamber while Beck tried to find a way to make the humans understand. Day asked where his father and the other missing people were. Beck lifted one massive claw and pointed deeper into the crystal chamber. A passage the boy had not noticed before led to another cave where soft light glowed. The dragon had created a safe space for the humans, providing air and warmth while trying to decode their language and customs. The boy followed Beck through the hidden passage into a chamber that took his breath away. The missing colonists sat around a pool of warm, glowing water that provided light and heat. They looked tired but unharmed. When they saw Day, several people jumped up and called his name. His father ran to him and grabbed him in a tight hug. "Dee, what are you doing here? How did you find us?" "I came looking for you," the boy said simply. "And I found Bayek. It wants to help us, not hurt us." The other colonists looked skeptical when Day told them about his conversation with the dragon. Most of them had been too frightened to try communicating with the creature that had captured them. They had assumed they were prisoners waiting to be eaten or worse. Commander Yoon stepped forward, his hand still resting on his weapon. "That thing has been keeping us trapped down here for 2 days. How do we know this is not some kind of trick?" Beck appeared at the chamber entrance, moving slowly to avoid frightening the humans. The dragon projected calming thoughts toward the group, trying to ease their fear. But most of the adults were too terrified to listen to mental communication from an alien being. Day found himself serving as a translator between the dragon and his fellow humans. He explained that Bayek had been trying to protect them from the dangerous energy effects in the deep tunnels. The dragon's technology created safe zones, but moving too far from them could be deadly for human biology. Dr. Kim was the first adult to overcome her fear enough to study what Bayek was showing them. The dragon demonstrated how the crystal formation stored and transmitted energy across vast distances. The technology was based on principles that human science had never discovered. "This could revolutionize everything we know about physics," Dr. Kim whispered as she watched energy flow through the crystal networks. Faster than light communication, unlimited clean power, even the ability to terraform dead planets. But Bayek warned them that such knowledge was dangerous without wisdom to guide its use. The dragon's people had possessed similar technology and used it to destroy themselves. Any civilization that gained such power needed to prove it could use it responsibly. The dragon offered to teach the humans gradually, sharing knowledge as they demonstrated their ability to handle it wisely. But first, Beck needed their help with a more immediate problem. The dragon was dying, its ancient body finally wearing out after millions of years of life. Beck did not fear death, but it could not let the accumulated knowledge of its civilization die with it. The dragon needed successors, beings who could learn the ancient wisdom and carry it forward to future generations. The humans might be young and primitive, but they showed promise for growth. Day's communicator suddenly crackled to life as Bayek enhanced its signal strength. The dragon had been monitoring human communication since their arrival, learning their language and customs through careful observation. Now it wanted to contact the colony directly. This is Colony Base calling all missing personnel. Director Park's voice came through clearly. Please respond if you can hear this transmission. Day picked up the communicator with shaking hands. This would be the moment that changed everything for the colony. He took a deep breath and pressed the transmit button. Colony Base, this is Day Kim. We found the missing teams. They are safe, and we have made contact with an intelligent alien who wants to help us. The silence that followed seemed to last forever. Then Director Park's voice came back, filled with disbelief and hope. Day, is that really you? Are you saying you found survivors? Yes, Director Park. All the missing people are alive and well. But more importantly, we need to talk about our new neighbor. Beck has been trying to communicate with us since we arrived. It wants to teach us things that could change human civilization forever. The boy looked at the dragon, at his father and the other rescued colonists, and at the crystal chamber that held wonders beyond imagination. Everything was about to change for the human colony, and Day had become the bridge between two civilizations separated by millions of years, but connected by the simple act of offering food to a hungry stranger. Director Park's voice came through the communicator again, this time more urgent and concerned. Day, we need proof that everyone is safe. Can you put Commander Yoon or Dr. Kim on the radio? Commander Yoon took the device from Day's hands. Director Park, this is Commander Yoon. All 43 missing personnel are alive and unharmed. The situation down here is unlike anything we expected. We need to arrange a peaceful meeting. Commander, are you being held against your will? Do you need immediate rescue? Negative, Director. We are guests, not prisoners. But this conversation needs to happen face-to-face with the colony leadership. The creature we called the Shadow is actually an intelligent being that wants to help us. The radio went silent for several minutes. Day could imagine the chaos in the colony command center as Director Park tried to process this impossible information. Finally, her voice returned, careful and measured. Commander Yoon, we will send a small diplomatic team to your location. Can you provide safe passage to the tunnels? Beck stepped closer to the communication device and touched it gently with one claw. Suddenly, the radio's range and clarity improved dramatically. The dragon's thoughts reached out to include Director Park in the mental conversation. Director Park. Beck's voice formed in her mind across the miles of rock and metal. I am Beck, keeper of the ancient knowledge. I wish to speak with your leaders about matters that concern both our peoples. The scream that came through the radio suggested Director Park had not been prepared for telepathic contact. After a moment of static, her voice returned, shaky but determined. This is Director Park. I am speaking to the alien intelligence. Can you guarantee the safety of our people? Your people are safer in my domain than anywhere else on this world, Beck replied through the mental link. The deep tunnels contain energies that would harm humans without proper protection. I have shielded your missing teams from these dangers. Dr. Kim stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. Director Park, this is Dr. Kim. The alien's technology is centuries ahead of ours. The energy readings down here are incredible. We need to study this opportunity carefully. Dr. Kim, are you saying this creature has advanced technology? Not just advanced, Director. Revolutionary. The power sources alone could solve Earth's energy crisis. The communication methods could connect human colonies across the galaxy instantly. This could change everything for our species. Day watched as the adults struggled to understand what they had discovered. The boy felt proud that his simple act of offering food had led to this moment of first contact between civilizations. But he also felt the weight of responsibility on his young shoulders. Beck shared more images with the group, showing them visions of human colonies spread across thousands of worlds. The dragon could see potential futures where humanity grew wise enough to handle great power responsibly. But it also saw darker paths where human ambition led to the same destruction that had claimed by ex-people. The choice belongs to your species, Beck explained to the gathered humans. I can teach you the secrets of energy manipulation, faster than light travel and technologies that seem like magic. But wisdom must come before power, or your civilization will follow mine into extinction. Director Park's voice came through the radio again, this time addressing Bayek directly. Ancient One, what do you want from us in return for this knowledge? I want successors, Beck replied simply. Beings who will carry forward the accumulated wisdom of my people. I am the last of my kind, and when I die, millions of years of knowledge dies with me, unless someone learns to preserve it. The negotiations that followed were unlike anything in human history. Director Park, speaking for the entire colony, discussed terms with an alien intelligence older than human civilization. The conversation was conducted through Day's communicator, with the boy serving as a bridge between telepathic and verbal communication. Bayek proposed a gradual exchange of knowledge and culture. The dragon would teach selected humans about advanced technology, but only as they proved ready to handle such power responsibly. The humans would share their own knowledge of recent scientific developments and their experiences exploring the galaxy. "We must start small," Beck insisted. "Simple improvements to your existing technology. Better energy efficiency, stronger materials, improved communication systems. As your people demonstrate wisdom in using these gifts, I will share greater secrets." Dr. Kim volunteered immediately to be the first human student. Her passion for learning impressed Beck, who agreed to begin teaching her the basic principles of crystal energy manipulation. The dragon warned that some concepts would take years for human minds to fully understand. Commander Yoon raised important questions about security and defense. If other human colonies learned about Bayek's knowledge, they might try to take it by force. The dragon assured him that the planet's natural defenses would protect against unwelcome visitors. "This world is more than it appears," Beck explained. "The crystal networks extend deep into the planet's core. I can control weather patterns, seismic activity, and electromagnetic fields across the entire surface. Any aggressive forces will find this a very unfriendly place to visit." As the day progressed, more colonists arrived at the tunnel entrance under heavy guard. Director Park led a small team of scientists and administrators down to the crystal chamber. Their first sight of Bayek left them speechless with awe and terror. The dragon remained patient as each human overcame their initial fear. Beck understood that trusting an alien being went against millions of years of human evolution. The fact that they were willing to try it all showed promising adaptability. Day found himself appointed as the official human-dragon cultural liaison, despite his young age. His natural ability to communicate with Beck made him essential to the growing partnership. The boy who had started the day as a worried son had become the bridge between two civilizations. That evening, as the first formal agreements were signed between the human colony and Bayek, Day sat beside the ancient dragon in the crystal chamber. The boy shared stories about Earth and human dreams of exploring the stars. Beck listened with interest, seeing echoes of its own people's early curiosity about the universe. "You have given me something precious," Beck told the boy. "Hope for the future. Your species may be young and sometimes foolish, but you have the potential to become something wonderful. The knowledge I share with your people will be my gift to tomorrow." The transformation of the mining colony had begun, but Day understood this was just the first step in a journey that would take humanity to heights they had never imagined possible. 3 months after first contact with Bayek, the mining colony had transformed into something completely different. The old metal buildings were being replaced with structures that seemed to grow from the living rock itself. Bayek had taught the human engineers how to shape stone and crystal using harmonic frequencies that made material stronger than any earth metal. Dai walked through the new sections of the colony every morning, amazed by how much had changed. Gardens now grew in chambers carved from solid rock, fed by underground streams that Beck had redirected to the surface. The air tasted cleaner and fresher thanks to crystal filters that removed toxins while adding beneficial minerals. Dr. Kim had become Beck's star pupil, spending hours each day in the crystal chamber learning about energy manipulation. She had already developed new power cells that could run colony equipment for months without recharging. Her excitement was infectious as she shared each breakthrough with her fellow scientists. "The principles are so simple once you understand them," Dr. Kim explained to a group of visiting researchers from other colonies. "We have been thinking about energy all wrong. Instead of fighting natural forces, we learn to work with them." The success of the partnership had attracted attention from across human space. Ships arrived weekly carrying scientists, diplomats, and curious observers who wanted to see the miracle colony for themselves. Bayek welcomed most visitors but remained selective about who could learn the deeper secrets. Commander Yoon had been put in charge of security for the growing community. His biggest challenge was protecting Bayek from humans who saw the dragon as a resource to be exploited rather than a teacher to be respected. Several attempts had been made to capture samples of dragon scales or blood for study at military laboratories. "Some people will never understand," Commander Yoon told Director Park during their weekly security briefing. They see advanced technology and immediately think about weapons and conquest. Beck is being very patient with us, but that patience has limits. The dragon had indeed shown remarkable tolerance for human nature. When a group of corporate representatives tried to claim ownership of the crystal technology, Bayek simply made their recording equipment malfunction until they left the planet. The message was clear without being violent. Day spent most of his time serving as translator and cultural guide for new arrivals. His ability to communicate directly with Bayek made him essential to the growing research programs. The boy had learned more about alien science in 3 months than most human scientists learned in their entire careers. But the most important lesson Day learned was about responsibility. Bayek shared knowledge carefully, always making sure that humans understood the consequences of what they were learning. The dragon told stories about its own people's mistakes, using those failures as teaching tools. Power without wisdom is destruction, Beck explained to Day during one of their private conversations. My people created weapons that could destroy stars. They built machines that could reshape entire solar systems. But they never learned to control their own ambitions. The boy understood that he was watching the beginning of a new chapter in human history. The technologies Bayek was sharing would eventually spread to every human colony. Faster than light communication was already being tested, allowing instant contact between worlds separated by hundreds of light years. More importantly, human attitudes were changing. The old approach of conquering and exploiting new worlds was being replaced by careful study and respectful cooperation. Other alien species had begun making contact, drawn by reports of humanity's partnership with Bayek. The ethereal collective sent representatives who existed as patterns of pure energy. They communicated through the crystal networks that Bayek had taught humans to build. These beings had been watching human expansion with concern, but the colonies' example convinced them that humanity might be ready for greater contact. Your species learns quickly, the ethereal envoy told the colony leadership through crystal resonance. Most civilizations take centuries to develop the wisdom you have gained in months. The Ancient One has chosen its students well. Dr. Kim made another breakthrough when she successfully created a small crystal that could store and replay Bayek's thoughts. The implications were staggering. Human knowledge could be preserved in ways that would last millions of years. Future generations would be able to learn directly from the greatest minds of the past. This changes everything about education and research, Dr. Kim announced to the excited science team. Imagine being able to study directly with Einstein or Tesla. Now imagine doing the same thing with alien intelligences from across the galaxy. Beck watched these developments with satisfaction but also concern. The dragon's health was declining despite the improved diet and care the humans provided. The ancient being was reaching the natural end of its incredibly long life. Time was running out to transfer the most important knowledge. I must begin teaching the deepest secrets, Beck told Day one evening as they sat together in the crystal chamber. The knowledge of space and time manipulation, consciousness transfer, and reality alteration. These are dangerous gifts, but humanity will need them for the challenges ahead. The boy asked what challenges Bayek meant. The dragon shared visions of hostile alien empires that viewed younger species as threats to be eliminated. Humanity's rapid advancement would eventually attract their attention. When that happened, humans would need every advantage they could get. But first, your people must prove they can handle such power responsibly. Beck continued. The tests I have planned will determine whether humanity is ready for its next evolutionary step, or whether it must wait another 1,000 years to mature. Day felt the weight of destiny settling on his shoulders. The peaceful mining colony had become the center of humanity's future. The choices made here would determine whether his species joined the galactic community as equals or remained isolated on the edges of civilization. As night fell over the transformed landscape, the boy looked up at stars that no longer seemed distant and unreachable. Thanks to a dragon's ancient wisdom and a child's simple act of kindness, humanity was about to take its place among the stars, in ways that previous generations could never have imagined. 1 year after first contact, the colony had become something that barely resembled its humble beginnings as a mining outpost. The Kepler Institute for Advanced Studies attracted researchers from hundreds of human worlds and dozens of alien species. The crystal spires that rose from the red landscape could be seen from orbit, glowing with energy that pulsed in harmony with the planet's own heartbeat. Day, now 13 and much taller than when he first met Bayek, walked through the grand assembly hall where representatives from across the galaxy gathered to share knowledge. Humans sat beside energy beings from the ethereal collective, crystalline entities from the resonant worlds, and other species that defied easy description. The integration is proceeding better than we hoped, Director Park told the assembled delegates. Human colonies are implementing the new technologies responsibly. Crime rates have dropped, environmental damage is being reversed, our expansion into space has become exploration rather than exploitation. Bayek appeared at the center of the hall through holographic projection, the dragon's physical form now too weak to attend in person. But the ancient being's mind remained sharp and focused on the task of preparing humanity for its final test. The time has come for the last lesson, Beck announced to the gathering. Humanity has proven its wisdom in small matters. Now it must demonstrate readiness for the greatest responsibility any species can bear, the power to create and destroy entire realities. A hush fell over the assembly. Even the alien delegates, some of whom possessed technologies that seemed magical to humans, recognized the significance of what Bayek was offering. Reality manipulation was the ultimate science, the ability to reshape the fundamental laws of existence itself. Dr. Kim, now the director of the Institute's Advanced Research Division, stepped forward.
Ancient One, are you certain our species is ready for such knowledge?
The responsibility seems overwhelming. No species is ever truly ready, Beck replied. But circumstances require acceleration of your development. Hostile forces are moving toward this sector of the galaxy. The Void Hunters have detected humanity's rapid advancement and consider your species a threat to their dominion. The ethereal collective representative flickered with patterns that indicated deep concern. The Void Hunters destroyed our homeworld eons ago. They eliminate any species that shows potential to challenge their control of the galaxy's energy resources. Commander Yoon, now the head of planetary defense, studied tactical displays that showed enemy movements in distant star systems. How long before they reach human space? Perhaps 50 years if they maintain current speed, Beck estimated. But they may accelerate if they perceive humanity as an immediate threat. Your rapid technological advancement has not gone unnoticed. The dragon began teaching the final lessons to a carefully selected group of humans and allied aliens. The knowledge was so complex that it had to be transferred gradually over many months. Even with crystal storage devices to aid memory, the concepts strained the limits of what mortal minds could comprehend. Day found himself chosen as one of the primary students, despite his youth. His natural connection to Bayek made him an ideal conduit for the most difficult lessons. The boy learned to manipulate matter at the quantum level, alter the flow of time in small regions of space, and even create pocket dimensions where different physical laws applied. Remember, Beck cautioned during each lesson, these abilities must never be used for personal gain or conquest. They exist to protect life and preserve knowledge. The moment they are misused, they will corrupt the user and ultimately destroy everything they touch. As Bayek's health continued to decline, the dragon made preparations for its final gift to humanity. The ancient being would transfer its consciousness into the crystal network, becoming a permanent teacher and guide for future generations. But this process would require a willing human partner to serve as the initial bridge. I volunteer, Day said without hesitation when Beck explained what was needed. You saved our colony and taught us wisdom. Let me help save your knowledge for the future. The ceremony took place in the deepest chamber of the crystal complex, witnessed by representatives from every species in the growing alliance. Beck's massive physical form lay still as its consciousness flowed into the surrounding crystals. Day served as the focal point, his mind temporarily merged with the dragon's vast knowledge. For a brief moment, the boy experienced everything Beck had learned across millions of years of existence. He saw the rise and fall of 1,000 civilizations, the birth and death of stars, the delicate balance that kept the universe from collapsing into chaos. The weight of such knowledge would have destroyed a normal mind. But the crystal network supported and protected Day throughout the transfer. When it was over, Beck's physical body crumbled to crystal dust that merged with the chamber walls. But the dragon's voice could still be heard through the network, now a permanent part of the planet's infrastructure. The ancient teacher had become immortal, able to guide humanity for as long as the crystals endured. The greatest lesson is complete, Beck's voice echoed through the crystals. Humanity has learned that true power comes not from domination, but from service to others. You are ready to face whatever challenges await among the stars. The transformation of humanity accelerated as news of the successful consciousness transfer spread. Humans began establishing new types of colonies, worlds where different species worked together to explore the deepest mysteries of existence. The old patterns of conflict and competition gave way to cooperation and mutual growth. When the Void Hunters finally arrived at the edge of human space, they found something they had never encountered before. Instead of a single species defending its territory, they faced an alliance of dozens of civilizations united by shared knowledge and common purpose. The reality manipulation techniques that Bayek had taught were used not as weapons but as tools of creation, building defenses that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The final battle, when it came, was unlike any conflict in galactic history. Rather than destroying the Void Hunters, the Alliance offered them something they had never experienced, the chance to learn and grow instead of simply consuming. Some of the ancient predators chose to join the growing community of knowledge seekers. Dei, now an adult and one of the galaxy's foremost experts on consciousness transfer, often returned to the crystal chamber where his adventure had begun. He would sit beside the glowing formations and listen to Bayek's voice sharing stories of the cosmos with new generations of students. "You gave me food when I was hungry," Beck would remind him during their private conversations. That simple act of kindness changed the fate of two civilizations. Never underestimate the power of compassion to transform the universe. The boy who had offered an emergency ration to a starving dragon had become the bridge between species, the guardian of ancient wisdom, and the architect of humanity's greatest age of exploration. But in his heart, he remained the same curious child who had been brave enough to venture into dark tunnels to find his father. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders still waiting to be discovered, and thanks to the partnership between human courage and alien wisdom, the future held infinite possibilities for growth, learning, and the endless adventure of understanding the cosmos and humanity's place within it.